Hi and welcome back to our bite-sized tutorials on income generation for schools. I'm Justin Smith and this short introductory video will take a look at developing and introducing an income generation strategy for your school. I recall fundraising consultant Andrew Day once saying that success is 80% planning. And he's absolutely right. We simply cannot justify wasting time, energy, resources and money on ad hoc and scattergun fundraising campaigns for our school. Time spent on pulling together a coherent and effective plan is time very well spent indeed. After all, research by Pebble found that 93% of school business leaders felt it was either important or very important to have some sort of fundraising strategy. However, only around 6% of those had actually got one. So what's the problem? Well, time was cited as the real issue, or lack of it, certainly. But ask yourself this question: when are you likely to have more time? You're not. We have to make time. But the good news is this needn't be as difficult or onerous as you may think. So I'm going to talk you through the basics of what makes up a plan. And there are essentially 6 elements here. In the deeper dive session, I'll go into more detail about those and provide you with a blank income generation plan template and other resources that you can adapt for your school. So here are the 6 elements of the plan. Okay, so number 1 is the executive summary. This is your front page providing an overview of the plan and its purpose. So if you're sending the plan through to governors, trustees or potential funders maybe, they can at a glance understand precisely what this document is for. So keep it simple, just a paragraph or 2 and some bullet points as well. Secondly, the situation analysis. So this is where you review your current context with regards to income generation. So you'd use tools such as SWOT or PESTLE or even a gap analysis. And remember SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. It's really simple but it's very effective, but you do need to be really honest with yourself and your school and your capability and capacity for fundraising. It's really important that you use this tool properly and you're really honest with yourselves. Ultimately, you're trying to convert threats into opportunities and weaknesses into strengths. Think about who you might engage with. So these could potentially be suppliers, parents who have businesses perhaps, former pupils, that sort of thing. If you have a PTA or a friends association, just ask yourself just how involved are they with this whole process. So I meet so many school business managers that explain to me that there's a disconnect between the school and the parents association, even though the PTA are actually really effective at fundraising. So ask yourself the question, can you integrate this group, this association into the school fundraising process better and more effectively and efficiently? Again, I can provide you with a very simple SWOT grid that you can use, or of course you can just go online and find one yourselves. So the third element is planning. This is where you identify your short-term, medium-term and longer-term projects. What are your objectives for the coming year and for the next 2 to 3 years ahead? In the short term, you may feel that putting together a plan, assembling a small fundraising team and identifying those projects that have the greatest impact is a great target to aim for. And you can use this part of the plan to really think about what's most needed in your school and which has the greatest impact. For years 2 to 3 and further ahead, you may be looking at those larger capital improvement projects, for example. Fourthly, program. So this is where you identify some of the detail that sits behind the projects that you've thought about in your planning phase. So ask yourselves the questions such as who's going to lead this particular initiative, how much it costs, what the time scales are, and the anticipated impact on pupils and the wider school community. Putting a little effort in at this stage in terms of defining the impact of the project is really worthwhile. This will pay dividends later, especially when you start to pull together some of your grant application information, for example, as well. And it also helps you identify which project is a priority. You may have had in your mind a particular school project for some time, but when you look at the impact and you break it down, actually that's less of a priority and you can work on other things instead. Number 5 in our plan is resources. So now we begin to think about what's needed to bring our plan to fruition, the human resources and the budgeting. So firstly, ask yourself who could be drafted in to become part of your new fundraising team. staff, parents, governors, pupils maybe as well. There may be some costs to consider here. So adapting your website so that it can accommodate some of your new fundraising capabilities may require some initial investment. Adding a sponsorship business directory or online donation capability, that may carry a cost from your web provider perhaps. So it's important to understand that and build that into your plan. This needs to be budgeted for. Conversely, do you have any trustees or governors with a specific expertise who can really contribute to your efforts? I remember being in a staff meeting one day and asking for volunteers to support this when a fellow member of the support team put her hand up and explained that in a former life she had a fairly significant role as a fundraiser for a major national charity. She had a huge amount of knowledge and expertise and she was really keen to help. She's a fantastic addition to the team. So if you don't ask, you'll never know. And the final element of our plan is measure and reflection. So here you're trying to understand what worked, what didn't, and why. So in other words, if your grant application was unsuccessful, phone the funder and try to understand why. Learn from these experiences and adapt your plan as necessary. If one of your major suppliers is reluctant to consider one of the sponsorship packages that you've put together, well, ask them why and what you could do to make it more appealing to them and other potential advocates and supporters. Every school is different, so we all operate in different contexts and environments, so adapt your approach to suit your audience. But most importantly, learn from the experiences, look back and reflect over the first year of fundraising and modify your plan accordingly. One of the biggest mistakes I made was to write a plan that I thought would work, and I didn't really look back and see which elements did work and didn't, and I didn't share it enough with our advocates and supporters. So learn from that experience. And remember the philosopher John Stuart Mill, who once said that a person with belief is equal to the force of 99 who only have an interest. So the point being that your staff, pupils and parents are your best ambassadors, so get them on side first. Explain to them the impact they can have and what you can achieve together. If you can engage, inspire and motivate them, then they'll do most of the hard work for you, and the momentum of the fundraising campaign will build and build. In our deeper dive session, we'll explore this a little bit further and go into in more detail, and I'll make available as well some free resources and templates that you can adapt for your school. Thanks for joining me in this short tutorial. I hope you found it useful and informative.